Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Today, very grateful, very humble, to be joined by Jackson Hightower. Jackson Hightower is a sexual health and wellness coach, an actual king for my audience out there, a modern day king that's not drinking, partying, sleeping around, doing those things. He's doing the modern day initiation, and I heard him on a podcast with a good friend of mine, Adrian, who's been on my show, and I just had to reach out to this guy, and I'm so glad he's here. Jackson, welcome to my show and welcome to my platform, mate. Really happy to have you here. Tell my audience that don't know who you are about you and what you do, and then we'll have an awesome chat, I'm sure. So, welcome, man.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate it, brother. I like all you Aussies. You guys have a great energy. Yeah, it's been nice to connect with you and to Adrian. Um, so yeah, for those who don't know me, I'm a US based influencer. I'm an educator at the end of the day. I focus on sexual health, general health, wellness, intimacy, dating, confidence building, for men. But I also, a lot of women are, into my content as well. But I focus on a lot of the things that we're too scared and too taboo to talk about in our society.
Yes.
And I really, I've spent my life being a bit of, I would say like a Sigma male, like a bit outside the pack. I kind of do my own thing. I've been a bit ahead of the trends. And so I've learned a lot of things through practicing Tantra and the erotic arts for 15 plus years. I've been a black belt in martial arts when I was 7. So I've done the martial arts, I've done the erotic arts, dance, yoga, Pilates. I've played sports at a very high level in college. So I've been training every aspect, mind, body, spirit, for many years. And so now I've taken all that knowledge and I'm disseminating it in a way to help men see a different path, reframe their experience in a different way, and show you that like it's possible that you can do these things and that you do have the power. So it's been amazing to see the following grow to 1.3 million people across social platforms in a very short period of time, but also the impact that it's making on people's lives. That's literally the reason why I'm here. This is my service business to humanity to help and support men and women all across the globe have better sexual health, better frames of reference, healthier relationships with themselves and with their partners, better intimacy, more orgasms for women, less orgasms for men. We'll get into that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do.
I love it, bro. It was just, yeah, it's just so refreshing to see because you see a lot of women in this space too, and it's nice to see some men in the space that men can aspire to be. And this is the reason why I got you on because I've spoken to women on my show about this stuff. Getting you on here and talking to the young men of today, it's like it gives them I feel like it gives them hope that they can achieve something more inside and outside the bedroom. And from the chat I listened to with you was you're big on discipline. And that's something that you did when you were like real young. You started doing martial arts when you're like 3 years old. I was like, wow, like because I feel like the young men of today aren't disciplined enough. And I feel like that's something that you can learn. But for you, like you started so young, man, like that's incredible. Like a 3-year-old's is bloody a black belt in pretty sure
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Muay Thai or something, wasn't it? You know,
I did
yeah,
Taekwondo when I was
that's
younger, but
it.
I've done Muay Thai. I started when I was 4, and I think some people are given the discipline gene. However, I also think that it can be developed, and it just takes a bit of effort and hard work, right? Everything that you do in your life, it takes hours and hours and hours of implementation. And so the more you have a goal, what are the things that are important to me as your highest priority, right? Then you can work backwards from there and then develop discipline and skills around it. But we live in a culture like where it's fast, quick, easy, like we're lazy. We want that dopamine boost without actually putting in the effort. I strongly encourage young men. It's like, hey man, like try to do something difficult and hard every day. Whatever it is, just
Mm,
one thing, right? Like one thing. Going to the gym, like I love going to the gym now, but like it's a fucking effort, man. Like it's effort. I'm putting heavy weights, I'm sweating, I'm dying, I'm gassed, but like I know that there's benefits, right? And then the same
mm,
type of methodology, you take it to your sexual performance, you take it to your health, right? What are you eating or not eating? Making those hard decisions about what goes in your body, right? It's all discipline.
mm.
Everything is discipline because everything is a choice. And you always have agency. Everything that you do, you have a choice. You have a choice to watch porn. You have a choice to cheat. You have a choice to eat the wrong foods, right? And sugar and processed foods. You have a choice to smoke cigarettes. You have a choice to drink alcohol. There's always an opposite to it. right? And if we're not actively thinking like, okay, am I going to delay short-term gratification for something I know down the road is better, right? That's what
Mm.
it's about. That's what it's about. Interesting story. I was at I had a Halloween costume. Halloween's my favorite holiday, and I just love dressing up, having fun. It's just a fun vibe. But I was dressed like some sort of Greek warrior at some point. Wasn't wearing a lot of clothes, and someone who knows me came up to me and they're like, I know that costume's taken you 25 years to develop, right? And it was because I wasn't wearing a lot of clothes. It was just my body, right? And it's like, well, yes, he knows that because he knows the dedication, the discipline, and the effort that I put in over that period of time to get there, right? So you have to start on one day. That's why I'm fit and I'm ripped and I have muscles and I have low body fat percentage because I work at it and I've been doing it for a long time. Right? It didn't just
Mm.
happen. Yes, some people
Yes.
are gifted and they're just born with a six pack and then they die with a six pack. But not everyone's like that, right? And you have to put in the effort. And it goes across the board. And once you develop that discipline, that skill in one area, it applies to other areas, right?
Yes.
And that's what I talk about with a lot of the stuff, the edging and the no releasing and whatever. Like that type of discipline that you can practice with yourself and with a partner, it has benefits outside the bedroom. That's the key.
Mm. 100%. And you talk a lot about, because yeah, we can go there now, like edging and that too. Like a lot of the young men in the bedroom are, suffering from the premature. They're lasting, 10, 15, 20 seconds. Like I used to too. Like I thought it was just normal, but
I
I
did
didn't
too.
make the dot connection to porn. Only in the last 3 years have I gone, oh, hang on a minute, because you're getting the dopamine fix, and it's like a rush, 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 bang, done. Because then
Yeah.
you're talking about taking your time, and that's been a big game changer for me in the last little bit too.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about how you play, how you practice is like how you play, right?
Yeah,
Go to the gym and you put in certain sets and certain reps and you work out in a specific way, you're going to get specific results. You're a marathon runner versus a sprinter, right? They practice differently, their bodies look differently, they perform differently. The same thing in the bedroom. If you practice by watching other people have sex and you go super quick, your body gets habituated to it. You don't think that
correct.
it's bad, but you get habituated to that fast, quick experience, which creates premature ejaculation. There's also other things that give men premature ejaculation as well, not just watching porn, not being able to
Mm,
breathe, not understanding the diaphragmatic breathing through your belly, right? There's a lot of things and being nervous and anxious and not being confident in the experience to just fucking relax, right? And that
yeah,
confidence carries into your experience because you know what you're doing. Yeah, sure, she's hot. Yeah, she's taking off her clothes. Yeah, she's doing this, right? And you're like, you're cool and you're calm and you're with it, right? Act like you've been there before, even if you haven't. As they say in sports. Like, so that part of it is super, super critical, to achieving um, results, in the bedroom is like you play like you practice. If you're going to
mm,
go, on a self-pleasure session, great. I'm all for that. I'm not against it. But A, what are you watching or are you looking at or thinking about? B, how long are you going? Are you edging? Are you actually going through the cycles? Because once you practice doing it yourself multiple times, you'll be like, oh, okay, I can do this with a partner, right? And that's the key is bringing it from a self-pleasure practice to a partner practice.
mm.
And then you'll see like massive amounts of changes.
100%.
And
And we're conditioned not to breathe though either. Like a lot of mouth breathing, you know what I mean? Like the breath work
that,
component to it is so key. And then, if we just want to circle back, like a lot of the people out there, they want that quick fix, the discipline at the gym, all the things. Like you got the steroids, you've got the porn, like you got all these sort of quick fixes, even like the blue pill, for goodness sake. Like you got all these quick fixes to a problem that takes time. And you can add that to any part of what's going on in the world today, but not
yep,
just this one thing, though, right? Like there's so many quick fixes that we all want, that simple, quick, easy solution,
right. And that's
don't we?
generating a culture of quick and easy solutions generate cultures of weak people
Yeah.
at the end of the day, right? If we
Mm.
don't have the discipline and the capacity to work and put in effort and drive, number one, it doesn't feel as good internally. Sure, you can show up at the gym and look all ripped up because you do a bunch of testosterone injections and stuff. Everyone knows what you're doing, man. And like, yeah, cool. Like, yeah, you do testosterone and steroids. Like, that's great. Like, I have more respect for the people that don't do that and show up in the gym and work hard and they look how they look. They may not look as good, but like they look normal, right? You could tell. I was just at
Mm,
Gold's Gym in Venice Beach today, where I used to live. I'm visiting here and like I go in the gym and there's a bunch of zoo and meatheads in there that everyone's on roids, right? And you can just tell the guys that are not, and
yeah.
you can tell the guys that are. And it's not that they're in there, not in there doing the work, but like you gotta figure out like what is important to you as a man, right? Do you just want to have this like showy, like, oh, here's the whatever, like this outward appearance, but internally, like you're the only one that has to live with yourself every day. Internally, you know you're a fraud, right?
Mm,
Right? So like, are you willing to put in work and effort to get to the next level? And the reality is that's what separates a man from a boy, right? It's like men have the capacity to like put in the work and they know that it's going to take them to the next level mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and it's going to be fucking hard. It's hard, right? Every decision that you make is a difficult decision because it requires you to put in effort and not be lazy, you
mm,
know? And then like the number of percentage of men who are capable of doing that these days, it's less and less and less and less and less, right? They want to get on porn. They want to get on OnlyFans. They don't want to go up and talk to a girl in real life because they risk rejection, right? They don't develop real natural seduction skills because they're just paying for it on the internet. So it's like, where's our culture going, right? So like I'm telling
mm.
young men, I'm like, wake the fuck up, guys. Like there's something that you need to pay attention to.
Oh
Just because
yeah,
it's there doesn't mean that you should do it. Just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should do it, right? So
100%.
that's the type of stuff I'm really passionate about it because I've spent my entire life working hard for
Mm.
things, you know? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that sums up our society today because you look at the programming from the TV, the movies, and all these things. Like you've always got in one TV show, you've always got a jovial character. Like I talk a lot about in my content, Stifler, Charlie Sheen. You've got Joey in Friends. Like you can sort of see the prototype of males that they want men to be. Like they want people to be like Joey, Stifler, Charlie, Homer Simpson, Peter Griffin. You've got like men carrying on and acting like children. So then you're seeing that on a subconscious level. You develop that, as you said, with the masturbation thing as a habit. So that becomes habit to be that guy. For me, I was a lot like Stifler, man. You can probably tell, like had the buddies, talking to women in a derogatory way. Like that's the sort of guy I wanted to be because on the TV he was a king and cool, but he wasn't a king and cool because women
right.
didn't like being treated like that. So you can sort of see the programming in the conditioning, which is another layer to that, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the most important parts of my platform is like I'm just trying to share with guys that there's another fucking way. There's
Yes.
another way of doing everything that you do. And I've been a bit of the outsider and the black sheep doing all these weird things in my life, going out and having these experiences. And I've done all the weird stuff and I'm literally synthesizing it and then summarizing it and then sharing it for you so that
Hmm.
you don't have to make all those mistakes and waste all that time. It's literally like a fucking cheat code, man. Like do these 5 things and you are going to elevate, you know, every
Yep.
aspect of your life.
If
Because
you're
sexual,
listening and watching, Jackson's content is fantastic. We'll put a link to his Instagram in the bottom, and that's the next step of this too. Like all these exercises, all these things that you do and say, man. Like my audience will be like, where's this come from? What did you do to get to this spot? You touched on the discipline as a 4 or 5 year old. Like, what was your journey like from, you know, to get you to this point? Were you a bit like a lot of the young men out there sleeping around, partying, drinking, doing all those things? What was your journey, man?
yeah. Yeah. So, I would say my experience has been similar to most, but I was always a little bit different.
Yep.
I had the discipline. I did school. I did all that sort of stuff. Like I got good grades. I went to an Ivy League place. I played sports in college. So I started everything later. I drank in college, but it wasn't super crazy. But yeah, and then you're like trying to hook up and you're trying to meet girls and you're trying to figure out how does it all work. You're away from home for the first time. My awareness of my sexual incapacity was actually when I was a freshman. I was hooking up with an older senior girl, and we were going at it for a couple weeks, maybe a month or so. And I'm kind of like learning on the fly here. And then at the end of it, she was just like, "Hey, man, like you're cool, like you're a nice kid, like whatever, but like you really don't know what the fuck you're doing." And I'd always been
Ooh.
someone who's very good at stuff. I was good at sports. I was good at school. I practiced. I trained. And I had this epiphany. I was like, wow, like that's painful as fuck to hear. But
Yeah.
also, but also, she's right. And
Mm,
also, where do I go to learn about this? Right. And so I had trained with masters when I was 4 years old. I'd had coaches, I'd had teachers, I had trainers. Everything I had ever done, there was training protocol, right? And except this, right? And so then it's like we watch porn because it's the only thing that's really available and readily accessible. And we think that that's training and we think that that's education. It's not. But and then that's kind of where my realization hit. Like, yeah, you had premature ejaculation in college. You're super excited. You don't know how to breathe. You're getting all, super amped up. You try to use alcohol to like numb
mm,
it out. But like, that's not the answer. Yeah, maybe it's a short-term fix, right? You were telling me about that. Like, it's a short-term little uh, Band-Aid solution. But like, you're also filling your body with alcohol. And like, who the hell wants to need to do that in order to hook up well and
mm.
like last longer than, a minute? So, there's all these things that you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. If I just learned how to breathe and like did some of these things, I could then do this naturally and I wouldn't need to drink alcohol and get myself totally inebriated in order to last longer. And then like once that unlocks, you're like, okay, what else can I learn, right? What else can I do?
Mm.
So, and then I started, learning from masters and reading and going to workshops and videos and programs and audio and basically on the side of my professional life, which I was doing a bunch of other stuff on my own, just learning and growing. And I never actually realized that this would be something I would do professionally. I had no idea, had no capacity. And, I was, telling about that Vision Quest, but I went on a Vision Quest. I ended up downloading this entire model, right? And of helping men and supporting men, and then pushed me into doing it more professionally, and actually, being in service of humanity. Like, I've been given a lot in my life. I have great parents. I have a great upbringing. I had a ton of opportunities. I've worked my ass off, but also like too much has been given, much is expected. So it's like now I'm giving and sharing in a way that I hope is relatable for men all around the world. And now I have a following and guys in India and Philippines and Australia and all these different places who are receiving this type of information. And all I want them to do is be like, huh, interesting. Let me think about that. I'd never considered that before, right? That's
Yeah.
all it takes is that little moment, right? And that's why I do this, because I want you to not have 15 years of going through the motions and trying to like navigate, intimacy with like a blindfold on, right? Because that's what it's about, man, you know?
If there's one like person or mentor or book or podcast, like what was it that I know that woman, that would be a huge thing to hear. I've heard it too actually. And it's like a kick in the it's like a kick in the gut, eh? Like but what would be like what was like one pivotal sort of resource that was ah like what was it? Was it a book,
That's the
podcast,
thing.
person?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was a book. No, there were no podcasts back then.
True.
Um, Facebook had just come out in 2003 or something like that, or 2004. It was so I recommend all young guys read David Data. David Data is the author of The Way of the Superior Man. He is one of
Yeah.
the most authorities on male-female polarity, relationship dynamics, and things like that. He's got a lot of great books. Way of the Superior Man is one of them,
It's a good
but
book.
he has other ones as well. Blue Truth, Finding God Through Sex. And, a lot of what I learned as a younger guy was from learning through him. And so that was really impactful. And then I began expanding into different people and different tracks and Tantra and Taoism, which is much more sort of Chinese focused. Tantra is more Indian, from India. Um, and then I basically assimilated all the things that I learned from all these different places into my own sort of playbook, so to speak, which is like
Yeah.
what resonates with me, what do I think is relatable, and how can I share this with guys so that they'll understand?
100%. Yeah, David Data, I 100% like I've read The Way of the Superior Man over the last couple of months, and yeah, that's a pretty powerful book. Hey, it's a good place to
Everyone
start.
should read it. Every man should read that book
Yep,
to start.
100%. Yep. So you've obviously spent a lot of time doing this too, and that's really really awesome, man. I just wanted to ask you how, like, you've gone like you did the Taoism, you did the Tantra, you did like all these things, like. How were you able to? Because it's so taboo and it's all these things like people say and it's like how did you put that all into a sort of uh you know relatable, like how did you make it so relatable, because a lot of the men out there, that they don't hear this enough, you know what I mean, because it's so, people don't want to talk about their bedroom behaviors, right? It's like this bloody, you know what I mean. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So yeah. So the question is,
Yeah, how are
how
you
do
able to put this in a relatable way that's
yeah.
like for men to be like, oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So I think that's actually my gift. Right? That's actually,
Yeah.
it's like, what's your superpower, right? Like, I'm really good at going out in the world, doing all the weird things, bringing it back, synthesizing it, and sharing it in a way that seems real and relatable, right? I'm a guy, I've had a number of different experiences. I'm a normal dude who's gone out there and tried all this weird stuff that most guys will never do. But that's my thing. And that's actually why I think this message resonates so strongly and powerfully with men and women around the world is that um, I want to, like, I am elevating and sharing on a mass level, right? I'm not just talking to the guys that are living in these tantra communities that are super deep and whatever. Like, that's not who I'm talking to, right? I'm talking to an 18-year-old guy who's living in Melbourne or Brisbane or whatever it is, right? Who is just like, hey, where do I go from here, right? And giving
Yep.
them practical, relatable, realistic information that they may not necessarily understand at first, right? But the whole point is like, how do you learn, right? You can learn from people that are more experienced than you in something. And then you grab onto the things that you like and you discard the stuff that you don't, and you keep on doing that, you know? So I think that's actually the answer is like, that's why I'm here. Like, this is my
Mm.
dharma for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that when I started this when I was 25 and learning. That was not part of, I didn't know that. I just had an
Yeah.
interest,
I
you
love that. Yeah. Because people say breath works, woo woo, like all this stuff is like there's such a amongst the mainstream, like general people, like there's this real belief of, oh, it's just woo woo stuff, it's all bullshit, like you've really cut that out and just gone, no, well, this is how you can be a king in a very relatable way. That's what I've noticed anyway, because it has this, I can't even think of the word. I think you might be able to think of it, but it's like this conditioning sort of program of, oh, that's just all nonsense, bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. I'm not afraid to share in a way that is counter to what most people think or believe, right? And that when they say like the people that are, geniuses or visionaries, like the first bunch of people are like, "You're crazy," right? They're saying something that's crazy, or like that's wild, or what are you talking about? Or and it can trigger people because it brings
Yes.
up stuff in them, like, "Ooh, like, do I have do I have the discipline to do that? Like, do you think I can cut? Am I going to be able to try that, or can I do this?" And the reality is, like, you'll never know until you try anything, right?
Yes.
You gotta just go for stuff and give it a shot. Everyone's like, "Oh, well, is that going to work? And is that going to work?" I'm like, I don't know. Why don't you fucking try? Like, do it, and then you'll see if it works for you. And if it doesn't work the first time, maybe try it again and try it a different way, you know? But we live in a culture where it's like people are so afraid to just take that leap, and just give something a shot. And after 20 years of work across mind, body, spirit, physical, emotional, etc., I tried a ton of stuff, you know, and this is the stuff that has worked for me. And so that's what I'm sharing.
Mm. Yeah, it's awesome. I just wanted to not circle back. I just wanted to ask you about like you talk a lot about hip movement and hip
Mhm.
mobility. I feel like a lot of young men, I know am still work in progress with the hip mobility. I reckon we're not very flexible in that hip area. And your content, like you're doing hip thrusts and all these hip openers. Like, how can a young man like I suggest just follow your content and start doing the hip stuff? But what's are you finding that too? Like I know for me, my hips were super tight, man, and
Well,
that affected all areas of my life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the truth of the matter is that being a martial artist at a very young age, you end up doing a lot of stretching and flexibility, which makes you
Yes.
flexible as you get older. So I had a leg up on everybody else. But what I've realized is that the the most important thing for like flexibility in the bedroom and being able to like be versatile and strong and also have flexion is like you need to have hips that are open. It is the single most important thing for guys to remember. So mobility in your hips is key. It allows you to get into different positions. It allows you to get into different angles. It allows you to be a better and more proficient lover because you can move your hips, right? A lot of guys have stiff hips, right? You look at
Yeah.
a woman looks at a guy who's like dancing and can move his hips really well. She immediately knows he's probably going to be good in bed immediately.
Yep.
Guys that
Unconscious.
stiff and whatever, like can't, now, it's not a guarantee, right? You could be
Mm.
super strong and all that sort of stuff, but when it comes to broadening your capacity and your skills in the bedroom, do that. And by the way, my app, like Better Man, that's the app that I'm launching. There is a whole I call them sexercises. So there are whole exercise progressions and routines to help you get better mobility in your hips. So they're all in my app, which will be released when it was just approved in the App Store actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, what we can do is hopefully this will go up in a couple of weeks, so we might be able to put a link in there. Might be
Yeah,
up by
yeah.
then. Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna get that app for sure. You know what I mean? Because I heard you talking about it with the other podcast. I was like, yep,
Oh yeah. No, the app is legit. It's basically like it alleviates sexual dysfunction, all gamified notifications, all that sort of stuff. And it adds all these other layers into it. So it's like a one-stop shop for all your sexual health is in this place. And I basically identified there's three main issues that men face. One is they're addicted to porn. Two, they have weak pelvic floor, which means that they don't do Kegels. And the third is that they jack off too much. And
yep.
so if you quit the porn, increase the Kegels, and stop jacking off so much and releasing, you're going to elevate your power and your vitality. It's just a given. It's how it works, you know?
Mm.
And that's the biggest thing I tell men. They're like, oh, how do, what are the most important thing that I do? Those three things combined. That's how it works. So yeah, it's
Pelvic
pretty
floor. What
pelvic
is
floor.
yeah? That's the next. That was my next good point. I'm just going to go to that then. I found that my pelvic floor was really weak for a long time too, and I didn't really know where to start until
Mhm.
I just put in YouTube one day, what are some pelvic floor strengthening exercises just to start because I knew I could feel it and that's the key to because you were talking about with Adrian too, is that that's the key to when you get to that moment of you're about to bloody release, but you can like pull like you can shut that. You were talking about shutting something. I'm like,
If
oh,
you
I'm gonna
close
ask
the
you about
valve.
that. Yeah, that's it. The valve. Yep.
Yeah. So the Kegel, like that squeeze, right, of the
Yep.
pelvic floor is the single most important thing for number one, lasting longer, number two, getting harder and firmer erections, and number three, your prostate, enhancing the health of your prostate. Now, as a young guy, you don't care about your prostate, but you definitely care about lasting longer. And if you're addicted to porn and you have ED from it, you definitely care about that. So it's basically, you get that moment where you feel the energy start to move down there and you're like, I got to stop it, right? I got to stop that fluid from going where I don't want it to go because I'm not ready. The ability to close the valve and breathe in a very specific way is the key to allowing you to last longer and get through that first plateau. Right? That's the key is closing the valve, strong pelvic floor. And you have to do these exercises every day. It's like
Mhm.
breathing, it's like going to the gym, it's like brushing your teeth. You got to do it every day, right? And once you develop the strength of that valve, then you can close it anytime you want to. Self-pleasure, partner pleasure, whatever it may be, right? And so that's the most important thing. But yeah, Kegels are critical. Kegels are critical.
And that first plateau thing is where a lot of men get stuck because, geez, for a long time I was stuck in that first plateau. You good, bro? we're just talking about the first plateau, and that's where a lot of young men, or a lot of men in general, get stuck in that. And I was stuck in that for a long time, and still something I'm working at too is getting past that. And you're talking about the pelvic floor. So what? It just takes time to build the strength in that because I feel like a young men don't have a strong pelvic floor and don't have the open hips either. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The pelvic floor is key, and also recognizing like that first plateau where they get that first level of arousal. How do you basically not go over like the point of no return? How do you actually make that plateau there, drop it down a little bit, and then build it back up again, right? That's essentially what we're focused on. And if you learn how to do a Kegel and you learn how to breathe, i.e., edging, like that's the edging practice is like holding that, right? At the level, I call it the magic eight, like 8 out of a 10. If you can learn how to do that and practice with yourself, then you can practice, then you can be able to do it with a partner, right? But it's all about holding it, getting that root lock, and then breathing. Because it's not just a Kegel, it's a Kegel plus breath. And all the apps out there that are Kegel focused, they don't do anything with breath. It's just a Kegel. Oh, hold the
That's
Kegel,
true.
hold the Kegel. That's not it. It's how you play, how you practice is how you play. If you just hold it, but you don't know how to breathe, in the moment, you're going to be like, you hold it, but like, what are you doing? Right? And it's the breath that allows you to carry through that plateau to the next level. And that's what I teach, and I share in the app is how to do that.
Yeah, awesome. Because I feel like the world needs this, bro. So it's awesome. It really is. And
Yeah, absolutely.
if there's a young man out there watching this, man, that's watching a shit ton of porn and has been exposed, like it's so easy and readily available now too. There's another layer to that. Like, what would be a piece of advice to take that first step towards something better?
Look, the first thing I would say is download an anti-porn tracker on your phone as an app because there's apps out there that do this. And that way it blocks a lot of these sites, right? That's the first thing I would do on your mobile and on your desktop. Um, because again, it's not about willpower, right? Just because you try harder, like you're still going to fall into that trap, you know? That's some guys who I'm coaching with, and they're like, well, how can you guarantee that you're going to help me quit watching porn? I'm like, dude, I don't have control over you. You have control over yourself. If you want to watch porn, you're going to watch porn. If you get into that state of mind where you're feeling low and depressed and lonely and you need a dopamine boost, you're going to go do it if you don't have that
Yeah,
mental fortitude. But it's about, and so the other part of it is so get those tracking programs, so get those sites out, so it makes it more difficult to find it. The other thing I tell guys is like, look, there's so much stuff on the internet that's video based that isn't porn, but it's videos on TikTok and Instagram, all these girls or whatever they're into. Like you can look at stuff that turns you on, but it's not porn, right? And that's key.
that is
Um,
true.
I have a whole, I have basically a PDF that I created, which is like a dopamine porn matrix, right? So it tells you this type of content is going to raise your dopamine the most, but it creates the least amount of neural demand. So in very
Uh,
simple terms, what that means is this. If you watch VR porn, that is going to create the most amount of dopamine and it's going to use your brain the least. So you're just being fed all this dopamine and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to work for it. This
yeah,
concept of like not having to work for it. It's like going and, shooting up some testosterone and steroids and like you just get all bulked up, right? It's not exactly how it works. You still have to go to the gym, but then, so I tell guys, I'm like, look, if you're gonna watch porn, your dopamine's gonna go way high. You don't have any neural demand, and it's the most addictive thing in the world. It's like taking heroin. That's what it does to your brain, to your dopamine pathways. So what I tell guys is the less hardcore video nature things that you watch, the better it is for you. Your dopamine won't go as high, but your neural demand is higher, right? So, very simple example. A guy that's watching VR porn, he has to do nothing. It's all presented for him, right? A guy who is reading a book, think about how much imagination you have to read a book that's an erotic series and think about a woman and then create that story and then create what you're doing with her and create whatever that is that turns you on, right? There's high neural demand. Now, is your dopamine going to be as high? No, but your neural demand is high, and we want neural demand to be high, right? So right now, young guys, they're just getting flooded with all this dopamine, all these videos, all this shit that basically is like sapping their brains. They don't actually have to think anymore. They don't have to visualize, right?
Mm.
And so I say, like, look, stop watching the VR porn. Stop watching regular porn. Start watching, videos that are not porn, but like women that you find sexy. There's plenty of women on the internet that you can find that are in bikinis or whatever they're doing, right? Like we all know it's out there. So like start watching that as a way to wean off of it. And then once you that is, once you're good there, then start using a static image, just a picture, because you have to use more of your brain to get you excited, right? So the less visual stimuli you have, the more your brain works, which means you're not going to have ED in the bedroom. So it's a fascinating thing that I've uncovered is like if men can understand the more they need to work in order to get dopamine, that's going to be better for their body rather than having the dopamine all be given to you by watching something that's hardcore like porn.
That's really awesome advice. And it's like when I was probably 3, 4 years ago, it's like I wish I heard something like that because I did the cold turkey thing and that was quite difficult, man.
It's hard. It's very difficult to do. Only some people can do it. Usually there's a weaning off process and there are accountability things that you need to have. One of the things I have in my app is basically this I have exercises, breath works, physical activity, meditations, affirmations that build dopamine when you're feeling those moments of urge, right? Where it's like, I feel like I want to watch some porn to go do something. Go dip your nuts in cold water. I guarantee you won't want to watch porn because your dopamine gets boosted up a little bit. Your testosterone gets boosted up a little bit because you just did something crazy. Your dick and your balls shrivel up. You're not going to be that horny anymore, right? First thing I tell guys to do is go dunk your balls in ice cold water. You've done a cold plunge before, right?
I have, yep.
Yeah. Where does your willy go when you do a cold plunge?
It doesn't come up.
No, definitely not going anywhere. So like cold water therapy for me is a really important one where it's
I
like,
like
cool.
that.
It's almost like it's like, oh, I got to cool off, right? That's
Yeah.
and then you can get into the breath works and meditations and things like that that will boost dopamine naturally, um, that are really supportive to, not needing that dopamine hit. Because that's what happens. When you go watch porn, it's because you want dopamine. So what do you do instead? You have to replace it with something else. What are natural ways to increase dopamine? Physical exercise, breath work, meditation, affirmations, cold water therapy, all that sort of stuff, right? So it's about replacing it. Because you said cold turkey is hard. It's not about trying harder. It's about how can I replace the dopamine with something else and doing it
Yes.
naturally, right?
Yep. And you can use that blueprint or that formula to like other habits of your life too. Because it's all about replacing. You've got to replace the junk food. You've got to replace the
Yeah.
laziness or whatever it is. You've got to replace with something better or something that's going to give you a longer term gratification because that's what it's all about. It's all about the dopamine and the short term gratification, the short term hit. And that's where we're stuck as a society with the young men. We're all chasing something quick and it's a short term thing rather than, well, what's the long term? And I
Mhm.
talk a lot about Jackson with my content, my podcast, and my stuff is what's your long term plan? Not right now in the next, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, which is great, but like what's your 5 year, 10 year vision of who you want to be, your values, all those things? That all plays a part too, bro.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of guys get stuck in like the now and not thinking about and planning for the future. And they never really learn about themselves. You got to go out in the world and learn about yourself. You got to do some shit. You got to go have some experiences, right? Go do some weird things. And then I have all these resources for guys like mental, retreats and workshops and programs and all this sort of stuff. It's like, go do something. Figure out who you are. What is important to you, right? And then try some stuff on for size and see how it fits. You may not like everything. I've done a ton of shit that I don't like, that it wasn't helpful, it wasn't good. But you know what? The only way you learn is you try, right? And then you slowly get better at making those better decisions. Oh, okay. That one definitely resonates with me. I'm going to take these four nuggets from it. And then you just build your personal psyche. Because you talk about, the other thing we talk about is like confidence. How do you become
Yes.
confident, right? Confident is not something that you can fake. You either have it or you don't, right? And the way that you develop confidence as a man is knowing who the fuck you are.
Love that.
And how do you learn who you are? You go out in the world and you try things on and you see if they fit. And if they don't fit, then you discard them. And if they fit, then you bring them on. That's what it's about. You know, what are your morals? What are your values? Where are you learning? Who are the people that you're hanging out with? That is going to develop your who you are and your essence, I call your essence. That's confidence. And also that's sexy for a
Hmm.
woman. Because she's like, oh, that guy knows who he is. She may not be into everything that you're into, but she's like, he knows who he is. I'll follow that guy.
Mm. Mm.
Right? That's what it's about. So the young guys out there, oh, this confidence, that confidence. It's about experience and life and understanding who you are and developing your essence at its core.
Do you think it's a mask too? Like they'll act and project confidence,
Hmm.
but underneath it all, not so much. Because I know in my experience, I tried to sometimes mask that confidence, and I feel like that might be part of it too. You know, it's like a mask. It's like a act. As you
Yeah,
said, you
there's
can't
a way.
fake it. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't fake it because anyone who's like at all attuned will be able to see through it.
correct.
There's a way to fake it till you make it, not really with confidence. If someone's actually paying attention, they're going to know if you're confident or you're not.
That's true.
So I always say, like, you can go out in the world and be you. And if you're not at that level of like real developed, real natural confidence, it's okay. You'll get there. You just need a little bit more time in it. But acting and projecting, it may have some short-term benefits and you may be able to, attract some women and whatever. But at the end of the day, like, how long does that last? You're not going to be able to really like hold up that mask because it's not
Nah.
real. It's a facade, right? It's like sand in the hourglass. It's just slipping away, you know? So like rather than do that, just hey, here's what I know, here's what I don't know. Here's where I'm at in my life. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
And coming at it from a place of like just real authenticity, you know? Because
Yeah.
young people
That's
may,
yes.
older people will notice it and they'll be like, this kid's full of shit. Yeah.
Yep. And that sums up my early 20s. Because the older
Yeah.
women or the older people are like, yeah, this young buck's full of shit. It's so true. I just wanted to ask you too. I had something else come to me while you were talking too, and it's about because you touched on it earlier and you touched on it again too. Just the fact that the rejection thing and walking up to a woman. Now, there's so many places we can go with this, and one of them I tend to go when I get guests on about this thing is that I say, well, the young men today won't approach a woman for A, because they're scared that they'll be like, oh, it's assault, or it's, they'll call whatever. And then there's another layer of the fear of rejection. And they were things that I've juggled with in my time too. But
Hmm.
in the last 6 months, I've gone and done that and found that have been really positive experiences. Like I spoke to him for 6 hours on the beach, and I wouldn't have had that moment if I hadn't have just walked up to her and said hello. You sort of know what I mean? Like I used to have those fears, so I'm just sort of putting it out there for the young men of today. Is like a lot of them tell me, Nath, I won't do that because they might go on TikTok and do this video and say this guy approached me, it was assault or whatever, or they'll, like that's probably the number one. What would be
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
Well, look, if you don't know someone, don't touch them.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
violation of their personal space, right? But yes, the feminist thing and the Me Too thing and whatnot, like at the end of the day, women want to be approached and they want to be talked to at their core. And if they're saying that the other if they're saying that they don't want that, they're lying. So that's women want to be adored and appreciated, right? The way
Mm,
that you do it matters, right? But at the end of the
correct.
as a man, your ability to go and talk and have a conversation with another human it's one of the most essential skills of being a human, right? And this concept of, yeah, the assault, I think guys can move past that,
Mm,
right? But like, yeah, you should approach, you should say hello, you should say something, right? Ask them a question, whatever it is, say hi. You can just say hi and then just see if what happens. She'll size you up and how you approach, your demeanor, your body language, right? You say a lot without even saying anything.
Mm,
Um, but what I've found is that um, men fear rejection because they've become weak and they don't realize that rejection is actually a gift. It's the most important thing that you'll get in your life because it makes you stronger. It develops your mettle and your grit, right? And it gives you, and also, I use this analogy. There's like, it's not an analogy. There's like 0.00001% of the population that's right for you.
mm,
I mean, think about that. Think about how many women are actually right for you. Five,
yeah.
five. I mean, like really right for you in a partnership capacity. There aren't that many. So like inevitably, no matter what you do, you're not going to finding all those five like every single day. It's just not possible. So you have to change the whole frame of reference in that I'm going to say hi to people that I don't know. Men, women. I tell guys, go talk to five new people every day, men and women. Exercise the muscle of approaching people and starting a conversation. And then when you approach the hot girl that you're into, it's not going to feel like this, whoa, right? Because you're so good at it. You're natural at it because you're good at talking to people about whatever. Talk to the ugly guys, talk to the ugly girls, talk to the hot guys, talk to the hot girls. Just talk to people, right? It's all we need to do. And realize that if they're rejecting you, it's never about you, really. It's about them, right? Something about them that either they're like, they're in their own head, they're in a relationship, they're not available, they've had a bad experience with someone that looks like you before in the past. I get that a lot. Women are like they can't, they're like, whoa, this is too much, you know? And I'm like,
Hmm.
cool, it's too much for you. Like, because you get a lot of projection, right? From women, like, oh, he looks like this guy and that guy.
Or
So
the name. Like put
yeah,
off by your name. Had a bad
yeah,
experience with the name.
sure. Yeah. So I always tell guys like, just go up and fucking do it. And here's the other trick.
Yep.
The more time you spend thinking about it, the less likely it is that you're going to go up and talk to her. So
Ooh.
in 15 seconds, you see someone, you fucking go talk to her. Hey, saw you from across the room. Like, I'm gonna be over here. I just wanted to say hi. You look really interesting. Let's, whatever you're gonna say, right? But don't spend time because men I do this all the
Yes.
time. Men get in their heads, oh, should I say this? Should I say that? And then we start pedestalizing. So it's a key term, pedestalizing. You put the woman on the pedestal that she's something. She's a human. She has flaws. She's fucked up. She goes number two to the bathroom. All the things that we all do, right? Like I don't care who you are. Everyone has issues. We're just human. But the more time a guy spends thinking about the right thing or this thing or the phrase that's going to get the line, I mean, you don't need any of that.
Love
You
that.
just need to be a human and go say hi, but do it quickly. Do it quickly. That's what I say.
Because that's following that first instinct, and I talk a lot about that too, and I use sport in that sense. Like there's a sport here called AFL, and I often use the analogy of, well, your coach always says to give the first handball, the first kick, your first thought is always the right one. But it's the same with your life, and it's the same with that too. It's that first instinct, and it's getting better at doing that thing, the first thing. Just do it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's what you're saying. Yeah,
Well, exactly. Less thinking, more doing, and just go with your natural instinct.
yeah, because it's always the right way. Because
Yep.
if you're like, because I've had a lot of, and myself too, a lot of people talk and you have those conversations, and you're like, oh, if I had just said what I was gonna say, like they'll reflect about it after it, and they'll go, if I had just said what I was gonna say first, different outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Just go up and say hi.
It's not hard.
Smile, say hi. And then, have something else to say after that. You know?
Yeah, love that. I love that. And to wrap things up, your content is, and the podcast with Adrian too, you were talking about lengthening of the doodle of the penis. Now that's something a lot of young men would resonate with. I feel like everyone wants a bigger one. Uh,
And
let's go down
everybody
this
wants
rabbit
to
hole.
think.
Let's go down the
Everyone
rabbit
wants.
hole.
Yeah, so look, like the average size erect is like 5.5 inches. Half the male population is below that. That's I think it's like what, like a billion men around the world between 18 and 65 years old. So, you got to think about the value that we place on our penis, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, men place a lot of value on the size and the this and the that. Whatever we're given, we're given. We don't have much choice, right? Like if you're born into a rich family, if you're born attractive, if you're born this, if you're born that. Some guys are born with a big ding-ling, right? Um, but there are things that you can do to help support yourself if you are one of the ones who didn't get lucky at birth, right? And it's all about stretching the skin. It's all about blood flow, oxygenation, and taking the right topical oils and then taking the right herbs. It takes time. Anyone who's going to tell you that you can do this in a week is full of shit. So
Oh
sorry.
yeah.
You can take a pill and have it grow your wiener. It doesn't work that way. But if you manually stretch and stimulate the skin over time while applying oil that creates heat and blood flow and nitric oxide production, while also taking herbal protocol that's going to support your insides, blood flow and like healing and tissue regeneration, the skin can stretch. It's the only organ in the body that can stretch, right? So you have to know that when you do think of like a plastic surgeon, right? When they go in and they do a skin graft, they take a piece of skin and then they stretch it, right?
Mm,
It's called mechanical creep. They're actually like the skin is actually expanding. But what's interesting about skin is that when you expand skin tissue, new cells form, right? So like it grows, it proliferates. That's called biological creep, meaning it's expanding. And so if you take that same principle, like if you do something long enough, just like you can grow a muscle from 17-inch bicep to a 21-inch bicep, well, your skin expands, your muscles expand. You're doing it by the muscle expansion, but this one you're sort of doing manually over time. So it takes time to do it, right? But you can grow it bigger and it can get wider as well over time. I would say like you got to put it in effort for at least 6 months.
yeah. And it's the same with anything. It's the same with anything to do with your life. It takes discipline, effort, and time, and well, mainly discipline, really.
Yeah, it
100%.
takes discipline, effort, time, and like desire. Where you're like, okay, cool, I'm down for this, you
Mm.
know, and I'm willing to put in the effort and know that it's not going to happen right away.
Absolutely. And I could talk to you about this for hours, but there was one more thing I do want to say too, because I feel like back ancient times, we had initiations where men would go out into the forest, or boys would, and they'd come back a man, they'd go and fend for themselves, right? In this modern world, I still believe that there are initiations that we can have from boy to man. It's just that we're so psychologically programmed and conditioned and all the things that we don't actually take those initiations because it's all unconscious. What would be some modern initiation steps for a young man that's listening to this that they can take to start to become a man because they're like, shit, I am just a boy in a man's body.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great question. The first thing I would say is a great way to initiate yourself is spending time in nature alone.
Mm,
Spending time in nature alone. It teaches you a lot about yourself without any technology. The second is spending time in nature alone and not eating food and doing a fast, right? It's a very simple way to calm your body so that your mind can open, right? And they can receive more information. 80% of our energy is expended through digesting food. But when you don't have food in your system, you have more energy for your brain, right? And other things to be able to perceive. So go in nature, right? Learn about animals, plants, things like that. Get connected to what it is that we're here on a very root level. And if you can
yes.
do that while also doing a fast for maybe a couple days, maybe it's 2 days, maybe it's 3 days. If you want to go intense, you might want to tell people where you are, but like you can do 5 or 6 days. But like that type of an experience is going to allow you to really know who you are at a different level, right? You're going to overcome fears. You're going to overcome being by yourself in the nature. You're going to be overcome this concept that like you need food, right? These are very things that are like, wow, I did that. That was a hard thing. I did that, right? And you're going to get rewarded for it, right? So that I think is a really great thing for all men to do. I'm not saying you have to go out and learn how to hunt and kill animals. That's a little bit more difficult, but it's a very simple thing. Be in nature and don't eat for a couple of days and just be present with yourself. No phones, no technology, right? Get connected to nature so that you can really open up and understand and experience and feel, more.
I love that, Jackson. Thank you so much for all you've shared today. Like, that's a beautiful way to finish this chat, man. I really appreciate the work you're doing, and
Thank
I'll encourage anyone to jump on your Instagram. Where else can people find you too?
Yeah, so Instagram is at Get Natural Jackson, and then the app I think for all young men is really important, and that's Betterman, BETTERMAN.co, is where you'll be able to find it and download it and purchase it. Yeah, so rock on.
I feel
Thank you.
like the app will be out. I feel like the app will be out by the time this goes up. So there'll be a link to all of that in the
Hmm.
show notes, and I encourage anyone to get in contact with Jackson or follow his stuff. It's really, really powerful. And thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you. I'd love to circle back and do this all again in the next 6 to 8 months, man. I really, really
Thank
appreciate you. So thank you.
I appreciate you, brother. Great questions, and yeah, I hope that your audience has some good nuggets from this.
Oh, I have a lot of good nuggets from this, so I really hope mine do as well, man. I appreciate it. Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Breaking Free podcast is over and out. Chat to you soon. Cheers.